Hey, what's up? We're back with another Money Markets and Mindset podcast. If you're new tuning in here, I'm stock market coach and option trader Jason Brown, and we got the new team member, Coach Sutton, with us. So thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. If you're listening on Apple's, Stitcher, or any of the podcast players, welcome to the show. So Wade, you're rocking a Never Go Broke, Taking a Profit shirt. I'm rocking a 5-Year Millionaire shirt, and I think both of them is key right now, because before we cut the mic on and start recording, we were just talking about this whole Tesla trade that I'm in, and we're like, look, if we're living by our principles, we need to close the trade and take the profit, because we've had some major profit, but until we fully close it, it's not really yours in the bank account, man. So I don't think people understand that we still have a hard time closing like massive trades because we're staring at the upside. I'm like, I think Tesla goes 300, but it's like, look, dude, you're already up. I mean, I'm doing quick math, 57,000, which is no small feat.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But as weird as that sounds, I'm like everybody else. Sometimes I still feel like that's not enough. Right? And so in order to remind ourselves what we should do, number one, we're going to take a profit. We're going to close it out. And then number two, we're going to talk about everybody wants to be a millionaire. So we were just talking about everybody wants to be a millionaire, but no one really wants to do what a millionaire does. They just want the money, but they don't necessarily do what people have to do. So what's your thoughts about that? Because that's the topic for today.
I appreciate that, Jay. And I think to clarify, people are willing to work hard. Like I remember driving through neighborhoods and you see houses and you're just like, I don't know what they do, but I'm willing to do that. And the reality is,
don't even know what they do, but I'm willing to do it.
I'm willing to do it because, when I think about people working hard, working 2 jobs, trying to get that holiday pay, trying to get the, those overtime and to get ahead, like, don't discount that. I mean, that is hard work. That's slogging it out. But they might be missing the more effective way. Like, what do I need to do? What are the steps to get there? Because if it wasn't necessarily modeled to you, if you didn't have some of those, tailwinds, somebody that gives you some coaching, some resources, you're sitting there going, how do I get into the game? Like that's the idea of like, everybody get past the visioning, get past like, yes, I want it, but what do I need to do? Like, let's just back that up a little bit, because one of the things that I appreciate in our forum, and anybody that's trying to get into a new path has to have a North Star. Like, if I had this, what would inspire me? It's I would help my mom out. I'd buy a house. I would pay for college. Cars are taken care of. Like, great. Those are all very noble. That's very inspiring, because no matter where you're at, you're saying that success would look like that. It would feel like that. And that's fun. And it's inspiring. But then what do I need to do? So, one of the things that I appreciate that you've built, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Jason, is what does becoming a millionaire look like?
Great question. And we were talking about that. People don't really put as much emphasis on becoming a millionaire versus making $1 million. And you have to become a millionaire in your mind first. I was a millionaire when I was broke. You're like, well, how are you a millionaire when you're broke? Because when a millionaire is broke, how do they think? They think this won't be for long. What lesson am I going to learn from this? How am I going to use this to come back bigger, better, stronger? Those aren't reserved for a certain dollar amount of people.
Yeah.
It's reserved for a certain mindset. And that's that millionaire mindset where you're like, okay, how do they think? How do they see obstacles? How do they see failure? How do they see difficulties? How do they see roadblocks? And I believe, what was it? Is it Think and Grow Rich? He talked about like, it's less about becoming a millionaire. Is less about what you have to do and who you have to become. And when you think about it in the stock market terms, who you have to become is a person that says you never go broke taking a profit. You become a person who realizes there'll always be another trade, another day. You become a person that protects their account from major losses or from catastrophic swings. And you don't just hope it's going to the moon and go to the fence. You hit base hits and you get on base. And every now and again, somebody hits a home run while bases is loaded and you get to bring all the troops home. But those are some of the things about the person you have to become. But it's more than just like trading who you have to become, making money there. But I always tell people, like, the stock market will reflect who you are in real life. So if you're greedy in real life, you're probably greedy in the stock market. When you're up, you don't want to take the profit. If you are a person who speeds through red lights, you're a person that holds the trade over earnings, you know what I'm saying, or over a Fed talk, you know, because you are the type of person that you're not calculating the risk. You're like, I'm gonna run this red light, speed up and go through it. You didn't calculate the risk. Like, okay, if you make the red light, you get to your destination on time or maybe a minute late. But if you run the red light and you crash and you kill someone or kill yourself, you never get to the destination. You kill them, you survive, you go to jail. You haven't calculated the risk. So now you like, I don't run the red light. Maybe I'm 5 minutes late to this engagement, but nobody dies. I'm not in jail, right?
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that stood out to me from that train of thought is I think about, you know, business owners and running a business. And this is silly, but my daughter's home from college and she's just home for another, you know, couple weeks. And so she's like, you know, let me start my own little business, you know, doing shave ice, kind of like a lemonade stand. And she started to build this out. But as she started to run through the requirements and the legislation to make that happen, let me just take you on it. SafeServe, right? You got to pay $200 to go down and get certified to handle food properly. Then you're going to have to go get insurance, and you're going to have to pay some money for that. And they're going to check and make sure you're doing this right. You're going to have to go to the city and register. You know, so if you go to a farmer's market and there's a bunch of food poisoning, they're going to be like, hey, we can narrow it down to these 30 people. And you're going to have to register, and there's regulations, and there's a process to make sure that you're handling food properly, you're insured, so in case something silly happens, you're covered. And so even for a lemonade stand, in running a business, there were barriers. Now, in the stock market, it's a double-edged sword, right? Open up a WEBULL account or, you know, an app-based trading system, link your bank account to it, put some money in there, and you're off to the races. Like you were handed the keys to something without necessarily having the regulation or the barriers, the checks and balances to make sure you can operate a trading account properly. And so when you were talking about running those red lights, or, you know, there's regulations, there's processes, there's steps. And I think that's you know, I think you've been in this long enough. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as far as a process and a system and some regulations, some graduating, you know, scaling from a hobby lemonade stand to running a business of a trading account.
Yeah, I once heard some lady say it like this, and I thought it was interesting. It was like, you need a license to drive a car. You have to be 18 before you can buy cigarettes, 21 before you can drink. You need training for all these other things. It's like, but they'll let anybody have a baby. You know, and look, this is not like a video about women's rights or, you know, or like nothing like that. The point is, some people shouldn't become parents, right? Like, and if they do, there should be like a license, some type of training. I mean, think about it like this. You're not even forced to take CPR classes as a parent.
Right.
knowing your kid could just choke. Like, well, no, here's your baby. Biggest thing they make you do is make sure you know how to put the car seat in when you're bringing the kid home, right? It's like, forget CPR, forget making sure you cut the food up into small pieces so they don't choke. It's like, we cannot let you leave this hospital without the car seat installed, right? And so I'm saying that I'm saying that to say, same with the stock market. There is no requirements other than you got a social security number. Yep. Okay. Go ahead. Sign up for a trading account. Answer a few questions. Here you go. And so there's no real regulation. There's no real making sure you understand what you're doing before you get into the game. And I think that's like handing the keys to the Ferrari or the Corvette to like a 15-year-old. They haven't been to driver's training yet. They haven't driven in the rain, nothing. And you're just like, here's this powerful machine. Here are the keys. And so I don't even remember what the original question was. But
yeah. So, and I think you're getting there, because we're talking about, people want to have, be a millionaire, and the work and the mindset of what do I need to do? What are the steps? What are the formulas? We don't allow people to open up lemonade stands without some regulation, and there's a process. There's some checks and balances, and putting a system in place that's a predictable, repeatable, playing the odds. I think that's an important difference between a hobbyist or somebody that's like, I want to be a millionaire. Yeah, we all want that. But what are the doings? What are the steps? What do I need to, I think about something like becoming a millionaire might include charting 3 hours a week. Go through the right activities. So if that wasn't even on your list of a checklist, like what kind of checklist? What are some top down? What are some things that you would say just off the top of your head? What would be those doings?
So we just got off a live stream, and I'm looking at my notes from that, and we said, the top 3 things people need to be thinking about is getting the right information, and getting the right education on how to apply that information, and then obviously the right application, right? And so I think on your way to becoming a millionaire, especially from the stock market, but with anything, the principles are kind of the same. You need the right information. So it's like, how does this work? How does this work? And then the kind of like the B of that question, right? If 1A is like, get the right information. 1B is like, how do I make it work for me, right? 1A is like, okay, I understand the right information, but how do I make it work for me in my situation? Meaning I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of time, whatever the case may be. How do you make it work for you? I think the second thing is getting the right education. So 1A, information, education, how does it work? How to make it work for me? And then application. So how do you apply it? And if you break down the steps, I can only talk about what I did. And one of the things that I did in the early stages was I understood that the stock market had patterns. Stocks had patterns. There were good times to buy, good time to sell. So one of the things that I did when you talk about wanting to be a millionaire from the stock market specifically, it's like, okay, I would chart 100 stocks a night. And reason why I did 100, I want people to understand, it's 500 stocks in the S&P 500. I was always a math guy. So I was like, oh, it's 5 days in a week. If I do 100 a night, I will have went through all 500 of the S&P 500 stocks by Friday. But what I didn't realize was I was just trying to get through and see where the opportunity was. What I didn't realize is the more I did that, the more it was like going to the gym and lifting weights. And so I was building a muscle to where I could see patterns, because I would look at 500 of them in a week or 100 of them in a night. And so I got really quick at finding stocks that were moving, best times to buy, best time to sell, because I was lifting that muscle. So that's one thing that people could do that they don't do. And when you think about trading, it's really boring. And I heard one of my mentors said this before. My mentor said, like, if your business isn't boring, you're doing it wrong. People are like, what does he mean? It should be exciting. It's like, no. He's like, it should be systematized. You run the playbook and it's boring. And I think about trading, and hear me out if people are listening to this. I think about trading the same way. It technically should be boring. It should be like, what do you do? It's like, I look at a couple charts, and if I see the pattern, I buy. If I don't buy. And people will be like, no, it has to be more than that. It's like, no, it's kind of like, that's it. Let's go through 100 charts. And if it's at support, I buy. If it's not, I don't buy. They're like, but people want excitement. And so what's excitement? They like, earnings is coming up. You think it's going to go up or go down? You think it'll go beat earnings or miss it? It's like, that's too much excitement. That excitement is that dopamine hit they're trying to get from gambling and guessing and turning $1 into $1 million overnight. That's that gambling mentality. So it's like, look, this should be just straight blocking and tackling. I either see a pattern or I don't. I don't see it. It's not at support. I'm not buying it. I move on. That's the stock market. That is but boring isn't sexy. So it's like, how do I make this money? You'd be like, buy a course. They're like, that's not what I wanted to hear. It's like, okay, don't want to buy a course. Then even if I told you to chart 500 stocks, how do you know you're charting them correctly if you haven't been taught how to chart them correctly?
Just reinforcing bad behavior. Like if you don't know, people are like, experience is a great way to, yeah, but if you don't know why something was good or bad, like you're not actually learning.
Right. So you don't want to get the right information. You don't want to get the right education. You just want to jump straight to the task and start looking for stocks. You don't know what you're looking for. You don't know the best time to buy or sell. That is the boring stuff of the stock market. And it's like, if you could just get good at that, most people would be rich. But hold on, here's the other thing.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so if I get good at reading charts, I'll be rich. I'm like, well, then you got to master fear and greed. You're like, I didn't know I was going to get a lesson on my emotions doing this, right? But you got to think about most people come in greedy. I think I can make more. It's like, you're already up. Take the money. They fear missing out, and then they're greedy, thinking they should make more than they've already made. And they don't understand that's a balancing scale. And once they get too out of balance, you hold on to winning trades until they become losing ones. And then you hold on to losing trades so long that you blow up your entire account. I know I can get an amen. Somebody listening to this somewhere, like, that's me. I watched it go all the way up, and then I watched it come all the way back down. And somebody else is like, I was down 100. I watched it go 200, down 1,000, 2,000. I watched it go down to 5,000, lost my entire account.
Yeah. You know, another thing that you brought up there about being boring and doing the work that nobody sees. Because, you know, one of my roles within the Power Trades University and the 5-year Millionaire group is really adding support in the forums. And we'll, you know, members of the forum will post up a ticker symbol and, you know, what do you think? And that can be a place to start. But I also know you have a trade tracker and you have your trading plan and your checklist.
Just say we part of the team now.
and so these assets, and you just guessing here, Jay. I know you don't have all the numbers for it, but you know, what do you think percentage of the community is building out those templates consistently? And I know you don't have to do it, you know, maybe after a while, but even beginner trades, do you think everybody's doing that?
No, I mean, you know, they're not, right? You see new traders come in all the time. And it's like, is this a good stock to buy or sell? It's like, show me your trade ticket. Where did you follow the 5 steps, 6 steps that we asked you to follow on the trade ticket? Like, oh, I didn't fill it out. You're like, why not? Because it's boring. It's boring.
This is
I don't want to do that. Just tell me what to buy. It's like, dude, fill out the form. It'll tell you what we call it in the business: green check, red X. How many green check marks add up? And the more green, right, it's boring. Right? For people listening on the audio, you couldn't see Coach Sutton was like yawning. Like, it's boring, right? It's like driving down the street. It's like, is the light green? Yes. Okay. All system go. Is it at support? Green check mark. Okay. What's the overall market doing? Is that support? Green check mark. Is earnings coming out this week or some type of news that could change the trajectory? Nope. Green check mark, right? Are you checking off all those things? And only, I shouldn't say only, but when you have, number one, if they're all green, you have no reason not to take the trade. If you have more green than red, then what you have is a high probability that the trade will work out in your favor. But when you have all green check marks, you have a high probability that the trade will work out and you have no reason to not take the trade. Those are the two situations I like to be in, where it's like, look, why would I not buy this? And everything checks out. But
so here, let's put this becoming the millionaire. So one of the things we talked about was going through the charts, having the education to chart them properly. And then make a commitment that says, I'm going to build out a trade ticket on 3 potential trades. And then you build out your trade tickets. You could post that in the forum and get some feedback from people. So then you have you did the boring, you mapped it out, kind of analog. And then what if you were able to get into the simulator? You said, I'm going to put $4,000 in my non-funded account as if, and I'm going to go test one of these 3 trades that I built.
Right.
What does that cost me? That's free.
It's free.
It's free, but you got to do the boring, right? So you go through and you not just, I click buy 10 contracts and it went up. Look, I'm a trader. I could have made all. No. I built it. I reasoned it. I couldn't find a reason not to. I got those green check marks we're talking about. And you could repeat it. See, that's the thing. Lightning in a bottle, no, I'm talking about a predictable, repeatable pattern. Because one of the things you started out with, that mentality, right? So a millionaire mindset where things go bad, you lost it, but they're not devastated necessarily because they know there was a predictable, repeatable pattern, a process
or a
that they could, a system to build it again. It wasn't like, I got lucky. It was a bull market. I just bought a whole bunch of long calls and it went up and then the market shifts and all of a sudden that system you thought you had, it's not working because it wasn't a predictable, repeatable pattern.
Absolutely. So listen, as we wrap this up, becoming a millionaire is understanding who you have to become versus more than what you have to do. There is some what you have to do in there, but it's like, do you understand what it takes to do that? And one last story. I think about the Kardashians. People say like, I can't believe that they're rich. I can't believe that they make this much money. And it's like, okay, you want to be a Kardashian? Most people are like, no, I don't want to be a Kardashian. Okay, well, would you like Kardashian money? Yes. I then say, you don't have what it takes to be a Kardashian, because the Kardashian is up at 4 a.m. on the plane, flying here for their grand opening. They're doing a podcast here. They got cameras following them around there. They fly back here. They got a meeting at midnight. They meeting with the makeup company this day, and they get home dirt tired and get up and do it all over again. And it's like, what you don't see is what you see on TV is just some random people frolicking around town. What you don't see is a work ethic like no other, of getting up and being entertaining, being on TV, handling your business, being able to take the social pressure of having all your business exposed on TV and to the rest of the world, and still moving forward as if it's just a normal day. It's like you couldn't walk a day in the Kardashian shoes. So when you say, why are they rich? And you barely can get out of bed because the alarm clock went off, it's like, that's the Kardashian difference. And it's the same thing with the stock market. You're like, why are these guys rich? They're not that smarter than me. They're not that cuter than me. Whatever the case, it's like, has nothing to do with it. I chart more stocks than you. I have more discipline than you. I get out when I'm up 10%, which is the 5-year millionaire plan. Those little things that are unsexy and most of the times that you can't see is usually the reason why somebody else is having success. And I remember Kanye said this in the song. He said, I was having nervous breakdowns like, dang, are these people that much better than me? And then he said, like, you know, in another song, he said, dude, lock yourself in a room doing 5 beats a day for 3 summers. Now, I don't know if he actually did that, but if he did, can you imagine every summer while everybody outside playing on the lake, golfing, he in the room doing 5 beats a day for 3 summers in a row? No wonder dude is a genius when it comes to making beats, making music, selling beats to other people, understanding the music industry. It wasn't because he got on stage and rocked the mic. It was because he locked himself in the room doing 5 beats a day for 3 summers, right? Like that, but that's unsexy. That's unsexy. Right. And it's unsexy because here's the other thing. There's no guarantee that he would ever become somebody. No different than the stock market. You like, okay, Jay, you told me chart 100 stocks. There's still no guarantee that you go find the right stocks and place the right trades, but you have a better chance of doing it if you think about who you have to become versus what you have to do. Let's go. Any final words, Coach Sutton? I can tell you what I'm about to do right now. I'm about to close this trade out, take my profit. I don't know if you can hear that bing, but I just
take it.
Yeah, I just got out.
Cool.
I just, hey, living by my own words, man. You never go broke taking a profit, mastering fear and greed. And most people don't know we have to master fear and greed too. Because like I said, before we start talking, what was we talking about? I was like, man, I think I should just hang on to it. I think it could go higher. But it's like, quit playing, Jay. Go and close it out. Any final words?
We're good. This was great. Keep it going.
There it is. Let us know in the comments if you're listening to this on all the platforms. What's 1 or 2 things that you took from this that you need to master to become a millionaire? Who do you have to become? What habits do you have to change mindset wise or with your discipline to become a millionaire? Let us know in the comments. Coach Brown, Coach Sutton signing off saying, remember, you never go broke taking a profit. Peace.